everyone's on the same page. Ever since creation, God has had a plan for being with his people. He's had a plan for having a place where he can connect here on earth with his creation. It says, God at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in times past unto the fathers. So we don't often realize it, but the Garden of Eden actually was a picture of a temple that God himself created, where he could walk with man in the cool of the day, where he could commission mankind to be his vicegerents here on earth, to be fruitful, to multiply, to have dominion, to extend his kingdom beyond the borders of the garden, to flow out, as it were, with the river that flew out of Eden and divided into the four corners of the earth. He wanted his kingdom to spread over the earth as the waters cover the seas. The patriarchs, he had holy places to meet with them, whether it was in a burning bush or whether it was in a vision of a ladder ascending and descending to heaven. He had these special holy places. His desire was always to meet with man, to extend his kingdom here on earth. In the wilderness, as Moses carried the people through the wilderness to the promised land, they had something called the Tabernacle, which is a fancy word for a fancy tent. And it was a place where the Shekinah glory hovered over the very tent where they offered sacrifices and where they worshiped God. And after the tabernacle of Moses, David also had a tabernacle. Some of us may not even remember that. But before the temple was ever built, David set up a special tabernacle in Jerusalem. And it was a tabernacle that didn't have borders and walls and curtains around it. It was wide open, and it was mainly known for a place of worship and open approach to the holy place, where people could actually come into God's presence. That's kind of significant because one of the prophets later on said, the time will come when David's tabernacle will be rebuilt, and the Lord of hosts will be ruler over all the earth, and people will come to him. Sounds pretty interesting, especially interesting when you realize that the early church took that passage and said, it's us. He's applying it to us. That's in Acts chapter 15. So let's go on. Now we're up to the temple. Remember, Solomon made the first temple. And it was very glorious, and it was very good. And the people worshiped God for a while. But before too long, the rulers of the nation wanted to be like other nations. And they brought in the idols, and they brought in the altars to the gods of the other nations, and polluted the sanctuary, and rebelled against God. And ultimately, God had to destroy that temple and take the people into captivity. Then, when he brought the people back, they built another temple, and they worshiped God for a while. But by the time that Jesus came incarnate on earth, that temple was being polluted. It became a place of religious commercialism and people trying to use the tools of the world to be glorious and powerful in God's sight. And it was basically an abomination. And the glory left that temple too. You may remember from some sermon back, the word for that is Ichabod. The glory has departed. And so by the time Jesus was walking in the temple grounds and turning over tables and driving out the sellers of animals and sacrifice objects, the glory was gone. And where was it? It was in Jesus. Remember, he said, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. And he wasn't talking about that stone building. He was talking about himself. So